All right, what's going on, guys? I am here with Chad Clark, and we are two agents in the Central Florida marketplace. And we, about once a month, I would say, Chad, we like to come together and just kind of have real world discussions, both real estate related and also just kind of what's going on in the world,
Yep.
from sports to current events. I mean, we just want to kind of have a space to put what's out on our mind and kind of get some feedback from you guys. So,
Some open
Chad,
dialogue here.
yeah, I'm happy to be here with you. Do you have any thoughts before we get into it, or you want to kind of
No,
just
just
hop
looking
into it?
forward to the open dialogue set here. Just get with you and talk about some things that I think are kind of cool and important to us that have been a big factor in our lives, from sports to real estate. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
I'm pretty excited too. It's a lot more relaxing this one
Yeah,
than because we have our real estate conversations every day. But I feel like me and you we have more real world conversations. So
yeah,
this
for
is going to
sure.
be kind of more on par with what we actually
Yeah,
talk about.
yeah.
So I expect these to be fantastic. So do you have any comments, or can we just kind of get right into it?
Let's jump in.
All right, let's rock and roll. So, first thing I wanted to touch on is what do you think is really keeping you busy? What's the real driving force behind what's going on in your week so far?
Well, as far as work goes, or
Yeah,
just work goes, I
work
think
goes.
it's a little bit of dealing with the current deals that I've got going on right now. So working with, like today, coming from an inspection
Oh,
to
okay.
going to a lunch and learn, and then from there just doing market analysis and working with the different transactions that I've got going on right now. So I think that's a lot of what the workflow of the week looks like. Lead generation, got my time set up for that we'll be doing. So that's just the normal week and sort of taking things as they go, besides the things that are already set up in the calendar.
Yeah, I would say I have something similar. I'm this week so far because it's Monday. I've been focused mainly on lead gen. I
Hmm.
was a part of the lunch and learn as well with all the different changes we're seeing
Yeah.
to how LLCs and trusts are handled in Florida. That was important, but it's been mainly just getting that focused. Last week, I would say a lot of my busyness was one getting new listings.
Yeah.
So just trying to get into the market and really trying to get buyers back into it. So I'm seeing a couple of them dragging their feet. And so right now I'm just working to get new
Yeah.
listings in front of them and just kind of get them back motivated. So,
Yeah. Just refilling the pipeline, because that's
yeah,
the thing been for me is like refilling now that I've got a lot of the stuff that I had dealing with is pending.
yep.
So it's just like now it's continual refilling of the pipeline.
That's the good and bad about real estate is once you do get it pending, you
Yeah.
almost like you have to think about it, but you almost have to think ahead. Like
Yeah.
this is done, now it's time to think what's
What's
coming
next?
next.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it's scary too because I actually just had my I had a closing this past week as well, and that was like after that closing, and it was a nice closing, but I don't have any other pendings right now, and
Right.
so I'm kind of like, oh crap, I have to kind of scramble to get my feet under me, and so the pros and cons of real estate, I would
Yep.
say.
For
Yeah,
sure.
perfect. Okay, so kind of getting into real estate, Chad. What what are your thoughts? Because you deal with a lot of listings, and I know me and you before this were just talking about pricing.
Hmm.
Do you think that has something to do with it, or is it the market? What do you think is causing homes to sit the longest?
I think, just in my opinion, is pricing. That's going to be the biggest thing
Okay.
right now. Just sellers overpricing, agents going in and just pricing the house with, okay, yeah, you want to list it here, boom, and they're just really not having a strategy behind it. So when
Okay.
we go into a listing appointment, we have a marketing strategy and a listing or pricing strategy.
Hmm.
So we're like, okay, look, if we're not seeing what we're looking for at this point in time, we need to make an adjustment. So having that
Mm.
preemptive conversation with the seller of, look, this is how price reductions work. This is what we want to look for. Here's some indicators of what's going on in the market. So preparing them ahead of time for those price reductions.
Okay.
Some people avoid that conversation or have that difficult conversation when it's time to have that, and so the seller's like, well, why? It hasn't been long enough, or no, I want to sit here at this price, and you'll see them sit because they didn't prepare the seller ahead of time
Yes.
for what's to come.
Yeah.
Letting them know this is what's going on in the market. Here's what we're seeing. Here's the average days on market in your neighborhood. All that kind of information that you go into ahead of time. So when you're asking yourself for a price reduction, it doesn't come as a surprise.
Yeah. I would say that's like the two most important words in real estate is setting expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that properly, it's just like you said, you're not just going in and arbitrarily saying, okay, it's been 3 weeks, let's drop the price. You're
Yeah.
saying, okay, based on these metrics, let's do this
Yeah. So
because we're responding to the market.
you're not coming out of left field and saying, "Oh, okay, guess what? It's time for a price reduction." Like,
Exactly. It's not a
for what?
surprise.
Yeah.
They're already kind of expecting it because if you're tracking metrics and you've already kind of showed them that, they're going to be tracking those same metrics.
Yep.
So you guys are on the same page.
Yep.
I could see that conversation being a lot easier because I have that conversation too, and
Yeah.
it's not the easiest conversation if they're not prepped for it. You have
Even when
some.
they're prepped,
I
yeah,
was just about to say you have some people who dig
yeah.
their feet in the sand, but you also have, and that's what I would say is the biggest thing that's causing homes to sit is the sellers that are not necessarily the sellers, and I would say that's going to be the biggest thing that's causing homes to sit right now is the sellers who are not necessarily receptive
Hmm.
to the what the agent or what the market is telling them
Yeah.
because they have their own way or they want to drive the boat. And I would say that's going to cause a home to sit on the market longer because you as the agent are telling them, hey, we had this metric happen, we need to drop the price. The market is telling us this, and if you're taking longer to respond, I think that's going to take longer for a buyer to
Yeah,
put an
for
offer
sure.
out.
Yep.
So, do you think a home sitting on the market longer is always a bad thing?
That, I mean, that's a tough question because I would say typically, yes, that,
Okay.
as it sits on the market, you got to think like a buyer.
Hmm.
If a buyer is seeing a house, okay, well, this house has been on the market for 100 days versus this one's been on the market for 30 days, what's wrong with that house? Why isn't somebody
Okay.
buying that? Why isn't
Yep.
it off the market yet? So that lets me know there's something wrong with it or it's priced too high.
Hmm.
So I go into that conversation with the seller ahead of time as well. It's just like, look, when your house sits on the market, people are looking at it and they're like, why is that house still sitting? Why hasn't it sold? Is it because there's something wrong? But typically, what we see is pricing because it's not always something that is wrong with the house when if they've gone through inspections or it's gone pending and back on the market.
Hmm.
Those are things that we can have conversations about as well. But a lot of the times, honestly, it's pricing.
It's pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. The only thing I would say in what I've seen that would cause me to be a little bit less hesitant for the extended days on market is like I would say two scenarios. Um, and you and I both kind of deal with this is the more unique properties where
Sure.
you have like your acreage or you have your
Mm-hmm.
your specific style properties where it's not going to be every buyer in the market.
Right.
That's a little
So
bit different.
yeah, so you got to look at it as they come. So if you're in a luxury listing, so those things are going to sit on the market a little bit longer.
Okay.
Even still, some of them go quickly just based on
Price.
pricing and if
Yeah.
the availability of them.
Yep.
So those tend to be on the market a little bit longer. 55 plus communities, so your
Good
niche
point.
market is a
Yep.
little bit smaller. You've got snowbirds that are coming down, so those are all indicators. So it depends on if there's a niche market for it or if it's just the general, average sell price
Hmm.
in Claremont or
I would
around the area.
I would say too though, what you said, even if it's a niche market, it may take a little longer. But just like you said, luxury listings, if they're priced right, they're gonna sell.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even if maybe the average days on market for that style, that niche market, luxury 55 plus, is going to be a little higher than the standard market
Mm-hmm.
average. I think price is going to be the ultimate way to get ahead of that. If you're standing out in the market based off of that, that's gonna it overcomes so many other objections. I
Yeah.
think you're correct in that front.
Yeah.
So kind of switching gears to the actual deal itself, what do you think in this Central Florida market is causing a lot of deals to? Well, you just came from so I'll ask you a two-parter. What are you seeing in inspections right now? One with the houses and the negotiations, and in turn, do you think the inspections are what's causing most houses to exit or get canceled? Most deals to get canceled.
Okay, so I'm going to answer that twofold.
Okay.
One, what I'm seeing a lot of in the market is why deals are falling through. I mean, just I would say maybe bad agents.
Oh, okay.
Um, I would say that I'm seeing a lot of agents not being able to handle negotiations, not being able to, you know, reason with their sellers.
Hmm.
If I'm working with a buyer, or, if we're talking about the inspection side of thing,
Yep.
um, that's more likely I'm facing that on the buy side where it's they're we're coming back to them with some reasonable expectations. Like, I always tell my buyers, hey, look for the major things. We're not looking
Hmm.
for anything minor. Every house that's not brand new, even brand new houses, are going to have some things wrong with them. You're going to find things in the inspection report.
Hmm.
However, we want to focus on the major. So if there's major concerns, there are going to be insurance issues, safety issues. Those are the things we want to address.
Gotcha.
So having that conversation with them, they're not going in with a checklist of, okay, well, everything on the inspection report, let's go put it on there. Whereas on the list side, I've seen that come through where
Just copy and paste an
copy and paste
addendum.
the
Yeah.
everything. I've even had straight up chat GPT. I know we've had this
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
where agents are communicating just strictly in chat GPT through conversations with me,
Yep.
through email, and then also in an addendum, which I had never seen before.
Yeah.
So
That's
um, I think there's,
unfortunate.
again, that's happening out there. So that's going to, I think, to start to be more common that we see a lot of people using the
With
chat
the
GPT.
implement of
But
the AI. Yep.
right. So, I mean, we've got to be aware of that. But also, whenever they're going back to their sellers and saying, okay, here's what they're asking for.
Hmm.
Again, having that conversation with the seller to where it's like, okay, this is an insurance problem. This is a safety concern. Letting them know you're going to have this problem with any buyer.
Yeah.
So,
It can't close with this kind of
right. So
problem.
either fix it
Yeah.
now or you're going to fix it later.
Yep.
So it's just like, hey, let's address it right now. Again, having that conversation. But a lot of agents are like, well, no, it's too much. We're not doing it. The seller doesn't want to do it. Boom. Okay. So, all right, well, we're going to cancel the contract.
Yeah.
Had that situation recently happen where um, I we made the request. We actually asked for an extension on the inspection period to get specialized people, plumbers and electricians to check on the work.
Yep.
And they refused to extend the inspection period in order
Mm.
for us to get those professionals in there to let us know what we're looking at. So we canceled the
That
contract,
makes the
and
buyer
then
ask so many questions.
right. So fortunately for my buyers, they got out of it. The only cost they had was for the inspection. So versus getting a money pit of a house,
Yep.
they were able to get out of it. But then going back and seeing that property was relisted and listed at a higher price.
Yeah.
So
That
it's
makes
just
sense. Yeah.
it's the stuff that you see out there. It's just like, you know agents are not educating their sellers on things that's going to benefit them. So the house is going to sit, and unfortunately, for these sellers, they also had to purchase a property, so they're not going to be able to move forward with their purchase
they're
without.
going to lose in the long run
Right.
because they're going to get less. They're not going to be able to purchase. It's going to throw off their whole situation.
Yeah. So again, if I'm the listing agent and I'm getting this long list of a punch list of all this stuff, these are the things that you want to focus on. These are the things I'm having that same conversation. Hey, this is a major concern, so we need to address this.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be able to get insurance, or you're going to have the same issue with any buyer. So let's address it. Versus just no, let's put it back on the market.
Yeah. Especially in a market like this where there is a lot of other houses listed.
Mm-hmm.
Something as big as, like, you think electrical, AC, plumbing, those things can stop. Like you said, that's going to stop you from closing.
Yeah, so
You
those
can't
are
get
deal
property
breakers.
insurance. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get financing. You're correct. That's 100% a deal breaker for a lot of people. And so, not you almost wonder, and this kind of leads me into the next one. You kind of wonder if that's the agent more so, like, either getting emotional with it, like, oh no, I'm not going to let my sellers do this, or
Yeah.
I'm not going to let the buyers take this on. Whereas I've had certain thoughts in my head where I've been in transactions where I was like, oh, the seller isn't going to go for this, and then I actually talked to them,
And they're
and
like,
it's like,
yep.
go ahead and do it, and I'm like speechless
I've
almost.
had the same situation.
So it's like, is that the agent getting in the way of the deal? And sometimes, of course, we deal with, the people who just don't want to do it. But then it comes to the thought, well, is it an either or? Either you do this or we cancel, or can we work out a deal?
Yeah, I think sometimes it is the agent and it is the seller
Yeah.
or the buyer. So we've got to learn to remove our emotion from it. And
Mm.
that's something that I've been working on lately, is just because once you get an email or a phone call or a text message, you're just like, you can be frustrated
Yes.
and just like, okay, let me stop, pause, think about this, take the emotion out of it. It's not up to me. It's up to my seller or
Correct.
my buyer.
Yep.
So
Yep.
keeping that in mind, like you said, because I've had the same situations. Like, there's no way that they're going to do this, and I was like, that's an extreme ask. And my seller's like, yeah, we'll do it.
Just
like,
doesn't even ask. Yeah, they just say, go ahead and do it.
Yep.
It's the way it goes, and it's because, like you said, we put ourselves in their situation, and we use our mindset as agents to try and dictate how they're going to make their decisions, and that's not how they make their decisions.
Yeah.
So I typically find, especially when it comes to negotiating, the combative, like, I'm going to win for my seller, I'm going to win for my buyer, and we're going to make you lose. That's the worst way to negotiate.
Yeah, that's not how you do business. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, we've all got to work together with each other, agents across the board. And
Hmm.
so it's like, as easy as I can make the transaction for that other party, I'm going to. I want to be, respectful, be kind,
Yep.
and try to educate them sometimes if needed, but not in a disrespectful way. It's just
Correct.
like, but again, taking that piece of emotion out of it and just being able to have a conversation and just state the facts, then I think that's a lot of it. So sometimes when we want to go off on a rant in through an email or something like that,
Yep. I've
versus
seen it.
just stating the facts. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. And I've the last several transactions that I've been working on that haven't closed yet. I'm still, it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, pause for a second, take the emotion out of it, state the facts, get it back to them. And then I think that has been a learning experience for me, just to be able to look at those transactions and say, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Handling that with,
I think that's where we're going to see a lot of the chat GPT and stuff like that, because that allows you to take a step back and say, filter this out. And even if you don't use a response, it'll
mm-hmm.
like talk me off of this ledge. Like it'll help you.
And that's the difference. And there's nothing wrong with, like, hey, I'm going to type out my email. I'm going to get this frustration out,
Yep.
putting it in there, allowing it to say, okay,
Be professional.
take the emotion out of it,
Yep.
put this in this way or whatever like that, to help process the thing. But just a straight copy paste doesn't.
Yeah, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, because then you're really not managing the transaction.
No.
AI versus AI.
Yeah.
So.
Who can prompt it better? Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's where we're not paid as agents to do that. So
Yeah.
I love that insight. So kind of getting into that, AI and real estate right now. I know we just came from a conference
Mm-hmm.
like this past week where most of the conference was talking about AI and real estate and how different AI apps and programs can, hone in on different parts of your business and really streamline the process. What do you feel about AI? Do you have any strong thoughts or opinions? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think ultimately it's going to be a bad thing?
I think I have a mixture.
Okay.
I'm like proceed with caution.
Okay.
So it took me a minute before I actually started getting into using more of it. So I was sort of hesitant at first, and it was like, okay, I was using it like Google. So it's like,
As a
you
search. Okay.
right. So hey, blah blah blah, whatever. Just put this in there, and then I would get an answer or whatever. But once I started learning how to give proper prompts,
Hmm.
I think that made the difference. And then just using it for different things, testing it out on different things, and trying to figure out how to properly use it. I think that's the big learning curve. Is just like it is the way of the future, and that's what things are. A lot of things are going to is AI. But again, still proceeding with caution. That I
Yeah.
don't want to fully give everything over to AI. I think a lot of people see things trending that way, but for me, I always think there's got to be that personal side of things.
Hmm.
So a lot of people talked about real estate just turning into, okay, well, they're not going to have a need for an agent, here in the future. But it's like people are going to still want that personal thing. It's like if you go into a restaurant and everything is okay, I put my order in here and I do this, and then that's it. Like you miss that personal interaction.
Hmm.
So some people may prefer that, but I don't. I mean, I'm an introvert and I still like that personal
The
interaction.
people. Yeah.
So I think in our business, there's always going to be that need for that.
I think I would actually agree. I think AI is really good at assisting with tasks, and when there's like, I've heard it said like this, when there's an end state. So how do you get me to X amount of, like, how can I get to X amount of followers, or what do I need to do to get this done? When you have an end state in mind, it's a lot more streamlined and it can really help you guide the process.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a little bit more abstract with something, I want to buy a house in Central Florida, and you really have to kind of hone in on a lot of different factors, and really personalize it to you. It really starts to scatter the process for you in a way that somebody who is the expert, like a real estate agent like yourself
Mm-hmm.
or myself, would be able to really kind of help you hone in on and get that personal touch. And obviously getting out, seeing houses, or just like you said, serving food and certain tasks like that that require that human touch. I don't see that going away. Obviously, I think the day in, day out tasks, the menial labor, those kind of things that can be automated, it's just going to be like the internet. It's just going to be like any kind of big change that we see. I feel like it is going to be a big change, but I don't think the human's going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, because what we have that they don't is that thing we just talked about is emotion.
Yeah.
So humans have emotion. We're emotional beings. So it's like, okay, you can't necessarily remove that, and AI can't have that.
Hmm.
So there's that level of personal interaction that you have the
Yep.
emotional interaction with people to where that's something that people have a need for,
Hmm.
and so you remove that and everything is like emotionless. Then it's like, okay, I'm talking to the wall.
Yeah. I think, I mean, real estate is a prime example of that because you have certain people who connect. I mean, you could talk to five different agents if you're looking to list your house, and
Mm-hmm.
you connect with three of them, and two of them had a good plan. You're gonna make a choice based on those two. Maybe one has a better. I don't know how you'd make that choice, but that's you're gonna choose based off of who you connected with. If you're talking to five different robots and they all have different plans, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, and it's going to be like they're all probably going to have the same plan,
Yeah,
and it's going to be weird. So I do see that personal touch. It's not going to go anywhere. The
and
emotion side of things is, yeah.
and I know this is something that we talked about just with AI is use the way that it's used just as far as health tracking, things like that.
Mm,
So not being able to afford a public or a personal trainer, so
yep.
it's like, hey, put in these prompts here and just put together a workout plan for based on what your goals are and your
Yep.
health and fitness. And those are great ways to utilize it and use it. And I think it's you know you don't need that emotional side necessarily for,
Correct.
hey, you lift these weights, do this, do that,
Hmm.
so you don't necessarily need that. But there's some people that do need that, so that's why the personal trainer is
Exactly
there,
right.
and so they're going to push you. Whereas, hey, I'm motivated enough to go do XYZ on my own. I don't need that personal touch for this. But that person that does, they're not going to go to AI. They're
Hmm.
going to go to that personal trainer.
Hmm.
So
And I mean, I think that's exactly right. And so at the end of the day, I think AI is going to be wonderful, and it's going to my personal opinion is AI is going to be about as big as maybe the internet was for us, but I don't think it's going to cause. When the internet came, we did see a lot of things shaken up, but we didn't see the end of the world.
mm-hmm.
We didn't see the end of a lot of industries. We didn't see the end of the way life we know it operates. And I think AI is going to be pretty similar. It's giving us as the one person a lot more access to instant information, which is very beneficial. And it's also allowing us to maybe organize our tasks, get our finances in order,
Yeah,
get our health in order, but it's still going to be on us to get it done.
yeah, and I think one of the downsides of it is that it makes people lazy. And
Mm,
so that's
I think
where
that's true.
it's like, okay, you hear of students in school just, I need to write a paper,
Yep,
write this for me.
you're so right.
So I mean, it's making people not have to look for things, not have to do the work themselves.
Hmm.
And I think people in our culture will look for the easy way out of things,
Yep.
and you see a lot of that. So people using AI for those type of things, it's just like, you know, it makes us as humans lazy, I think, in a lot of different ways.
I would agree with that.
Pros and cons
Yeah.
with anything and everything.
Yep.
But yeah, I think there's certain things that it's good for and certain things that it could actually hurt.
I like the way you phrase that. No, that's good. Do you have anything else you want to add to that? Pretty good.
Pretty good.
All right, perfect. So we're gonna kind of switch gears here and go a little bit more on the current events side of things. But I'd like to ask you, Chad, because I know you are somebody I look at as really finding that work life balance pretty well.
What is that?
Yeah, well, I know we do like you hear a lot about hustle culture and really
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting into the day in day out grind of things versus just burning yourself out, being
Yeah.
completely burnt out with life and work. What do you think? How do you walk that fine line? Because you have quite a large family. You guys are involved in sports.
Yeah, I mean, there's never any perfect balance, and
Okay.
anybody that says otherwise is crazy. So you're never going to find that perfect balance. So look at it more like a teeter totter. So you're
Okay.
like, okay, I'm here right now, and this is good, and then it goes the other way. It's like, okay, now I'm here.
Gotcha.
My work is up here. I'm focused on that, and then now family and
Interesting.
everything else. So it's like there's never that perfect balance. So there's for sports, there's different seasons. So it's like, okay, Now I'm in this season, so I'm really focused and all in on that, but still managing work and stuff. But this is taking up more time here. So then when okay, now it's sports are not going on, so now it's more heavy on the work side of this over here, and
Hmm.
then lower in this. So it's that constant, ebb and flow of what we do. Um, just like our seasons, there's busier seasons. So we know that towards the end of the year, usually things sort of taper off and
Okay,
go slower. Whereas in Florida, the summer is our
that's
prime
our hot
season.
time. Yep.
So you've got that. So there's always the up and downs of it, the constant roller coaster. Um, there is no perfect balance, like I said, but learning how to manage it, and then also, you know, scheduled. Like some people, I don't know how they operate without a schedule.
Mm.
I'm very much structured, and I live off my calendar. And if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist. So um, that's one of the ways to help manage a lot of the things that are going on. Just making sure things are in the calendar, making sure I'm checking that on a daily basis, and then setting a time aside to do lead gen, setting a time aside a time. Okay, I've got this practice here,
Yep.
so you know everything else fits in between. The things that are these are non-negotiables. These are things that okay
Gotcha.
have some flexibility.
I gotta get a little bit better at that. I mean, I like what you said though. You're not work life, there's no balance. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to have certain seasons where maybe the work is a little busier, where the personal life is a little busier. Can I ask you how, because like I said, I'm still dealing with that. How do you identify when you are going into another season of like maybe it's time to really gear up on work, or maybe pull back on work? I got to go into the personal side of things. It's, kind of invest in my family? When do you know it's time to like pull back? How does that look?
Well, like I said, seasons.
Seasons.
So like
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go into soccer season. So with my kids playing soccer, I'm coaching.
Yep.
So I
Okay.
know that Friday nights, Saturday mornings, those times are taken.
Hmm.
So if I have a buyer looking to go look at houses or something like that, so I'm not going to schedule in those times. Those are non-negotiable times that I've got somewhere another commitment. So I look at the calendar like everything in there is an appointment. So those if
Okay.
I've got a buyer scheduled for an appointment here at this time, I'm not going to schedule something else and tell them, okay, well we'll see you later.
Hmm.
We'll try to reschedule it. No, it's like that is an important thing that's in my calendar, so I'm scheduling around it. So I think that is one of the main things that I've said that I do is just use the calendar and work everything off of that. So I know this is getting ready to come in. It's going to be from this day, this time. Also, it's going to be for this amount of months. So I know for this time I've got this going
You're
on,
locked in.
so I'm locked in for those things.
And that's interesting. You said treat it like an appointment. So even if it's not the buyer appointment and you're coaching or you have dinner with the family or something, in your view and on your calendar, that's looked at as an appointment, just like that buyer meeting. So you give
Mm-hmm.
that same respect.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it like, okay, I'm not going to. How would that look if I cancel on a buyer? Just oh, something came up, I've got to go do this or
Yep.
whatever. No, that they're gonna be like, okay, well, I'll find somebody else. Same thing. You don't do that to your family either. It's like, okay, I've got this, and it's in the calendar. We've got this scheduled here, and it's like, okay, that's a priority.
Hmm.
So it's for some people those priorities are going to look different. Some people don't have a family, some people don't have the kids, so it's like okay, they may not have those same things as priority in their schedule,
Hmm.
but there may be something else. There may be say okay, I can't go without my gym time, so my gym time is booked here, so I know for sure these days this time that's what I'm doing, that's what I'm focused on.
Mm.
And then outside of that, okay, yeah, and I'm available. So there's certain things that we've got to figure out what in our lives are negotiable
The
versus
non-negotiables.
non-negotiable.
And so, is this when I start the week, I determine what my non-negotiables are, and then I schedule around that? How do you approach your week? Or you said you live and die by your calendar. How do you approach that?
Yeah, so once I schedule something, an appointment, boom, that's in there. Okay, I put it in the calendar, and then okay, everything else is scheduled around it. So if I don't make that time or I don't put it in my calendar, chances are I might
You
forget that I
might
have that
forget.
scheduled, and so
Well, I
it
know
may.
we've joked that if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's the big thing. If people don't work off of calendars, there's many different ways that people can
Hmm.
operate and work. That's just what works for me. So I put things in the calendar and I work off of that. So I'm checking it every day, making sure. I knew we had this coming up here, and I was telling you that last week. I was like, "Crap, it's
Yep.
Monday." I was like,
Yep.
"Does it?" Oh no, it's next
Next
week,
week.
so I'm
Yeah.
good. So,
It's
but
not on
it's
my
there.
calendar. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just like, did I miss it? What's going
Yeah.
on? So, but yeah, so that's the thing that works off the calendar for me. So I think those things are in there definitely are a priority.
Okay.
Um, and for the most part, that doesn't change. If there's a priority thing that's in the calendar, that stays.
So I think the good, like the aha, the good takeaway here is treating the personal and the business or the professional, even if there's no necessary balance that you're going to find, you're still treating them with the same respect, the same level. No, the personal doesn't have to, you don't sacrifice that because you want to do more in the business or vice versa. They need to have the same respect so they can both kind of flourish in the same way.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
a person's got to evaluate for themselves what's important in life,
Hmm.
and so business comes and goes, but family is always
I would hope they're always
that's a
there. Yep.
priority,
Yep.
or something else maybe a priority. It's like what are your priorities in life? Is it like the gym? That I mean, I know you go to the gym.
Hmm.
I think
Can you tell?
anyway.
Can you tell?
No, but I mean, for me, that's like okay, it's on my calendar.
Yep.
Like so, it's like those things. Okay, if I can avoid missing that, I'm going to. Like it's in my calendar. It's marked off. So I think that's set that as an appointment. It's like I know that I'm not expecting to do anything until this is done, and then
Hmm.
go from there from the next thing that I've got in my calendar. So if somebody's calls me, hey, can you meet me at 9 o'clock? Okay, well it's going to be tough because that's right when I'm at the gym.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to schedule 9:30. Sure. So looking at that, or it's like okay, I can cut a few minutes here or there, and then make that happen. So I try to be flexible where I
Hmm.
can. So like if there's a buyer that's in town and they're like, okay, well I'm only going to be here for these many days. Okay, what can I move around for them?
Okay.
So it's not like everything boom is
It's
set in
not. It's yeah.
stone, but there
Okay.
are some things that okay, I'm not changing this.
Hmm. The real and something like a gym time or something. Those can, like you said, we can go a little shorter on an
Mm-hmm.
exercise or something. But if you're with the family and you have that set, that's the non-negotiable. So I think that's good to determine that. Yeah, I love that. So, kind of going through it, um, do you think dealing with social media? Because I know as agents, we can. Social media nowadays is almost vital to the business. You can't really go without it, but you almost get to a point where it's like, is it too much? How do you feel about taking social media breaks as an agent?
I do that quite often.
You do that quite
Yeah, I
often.
just got done taking a break from social media.
Oh, okay.
So I'll do that from time to time, take like a social media fast. This one wasn't as intense of okay, I'm not doing any social media, which I've done that too. This was just okay, I'm not posting for a month. So I took a
Okay.
break from posting and doing stuff like that. So it's funny because like the clips that you've been uploading and stuff like
Yeah.
that, I was like, okay, it just automatically did it, so I didn't have to do anything. So,
Yeah.
but
Learning new stuff here.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like I'll take breaks. I think it's necessary just to almost like a detox of just okay, let me clear my
Yeah.
mind because it can be overwhelming and people just spend so much time on social media. I'm guilty of it too, just where you doom scrolling just for long periods of time. So, for me, like I personally deleted the apps from my phone. So like it's
Okay.
you've got to go look for them in order to get to it. So it takes the intentionality of doing it and
Mm.
going to there to get to your app.
So are
Um,
you saying when you took your time off of social media, you completely took them all off your phone,
mhm.
logged out, and so you really had to, if you were going to
Yeah, if
break
I
that rule, you had to try.
yeah. So
I like that.
that's one way to do it. But then I see in our business, and I don't know the agent's individual, and this is just speculation, but sometimes I feel like agents spend more time on social media and working on content than they do
In the
actually work in
business.
the
I
business.
would 100% agree. I almost feel like social media to an agent can almost be detrimental
Hmm.
because you can get so focused on posting what you're going to post, how you're going to like what the caption is, who your target audience is. And then you have an agent like yourself, like you said, I just got done with the break, but I know you have like 4 or 5 under contract right now. So you're actually in the business, you're trying to produce, And so there's a bit of a difference there. And I'm not taking anything away because there are some
No,
very successful agents
and they
on
get a lot
social
of business
media.
from social media, and
Exactly.
that may be their niche, and that's fine. There's
But I
nothing wrong with
think
that.
they have a set process to where they are not going over every post and really kind of like they have created something for themselves with the content that they're posting, which is why they're successful.
Or they've gotten to
So
the point where they have someone who does a lot of the stuff for
correct.
them,
Yep,
and
that's a good point.
hey, that's in my schedule from this day to this time. Again, in the calendar of
Hmm.
I'm shooting social media, doing this, blah blah blah, and then they get it to their people, and their people take it from there. It's like,
Yeah.
so you've got that side of it, but again, a lot of newer agents come into it, and they want to be social media rock
Yep.
stars or influencers or whatever.
Hmm.
So it's like you see that side of it, and it's like, okay, hey, you got to work the business.
Yeah.
You got to close some
You got some
deals.
write some
Uh,
contracts.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's that side of it that you see. So again, finding a good balance of
Yeah.
it is like, is it necessary? No, but is it helpful? Sure. So those are things that you can do that will help sometimes help your business, or things that you're getting out there to keep top of mind for people that are,
Hmm.
hey, this is what I do. I'm raising my hand, showing you, hey, I'm still in real estate. This is what I
Yeah.
do. So hey, if you need somebody, I'm
Still
here.
selling
Yeah.
houses. We're still helping people buy. I will say the one major thing that I found I really enjoy about social media is like stuff like this, where we're able to have a conversation, and we can do different clips, or we can do stuff about education and just give it out to buyers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really beneficial because there was a point in time to where a buyer would literally have to go, either sit with an agent and try and write a contract before they really understood what's involved. And if we do have a really savvy buyer or a really savvy seller, they can go through social media, they can look at different clips, they can go on YouTube and really kind of get a good idea of this is what it takes to find a good agent, this is kind of what the
Mm-hmm.
market looks like around me, and really have a good understanding of that. So I think
Yeah.
education wise it's valuable.
I think a lot of people are coming into the process sometimes a lot more educated than they were previously. So
Yes.
there's a lot more AI, Google, all those things that are out there that can help them be more prepared than they were previously.
Yep.
So our job, is to make sure that they're educated as well. So we bring that personal side of things. Like, okay, I found this all on the internet. I saw all this. Now you tell me your side of it and how it works for you, and how give them more education
Yep.
on how things go.
I would say too, they because you do have these people who get very educated. They come in and they have a like this is the way it's done,
They think they
and
know it all.
yeah, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're sitting having a conversation, and you're like, okay, well, do you know this? Do you know that? And so I would just say, don't come into a always be willing to learn.
Yeah, and you look at it like this: like if I'm going into my doctor's office and I've spent hours on WebMD trying to diagnose what's going on, and I go to the doctor, well, no, this is actually what's going on, and this is blah
Exactly.
blah 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 blah. They're gonna be like, sure,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. It's like they're the professional, and they've got to trust that
Yep.
we as real estate agents are the professionals in our field. There's a lot of bad agents out there, some bad doctors out there too.
Correct.
So it's just making sure that you don't let the education that you've got just be the end all be all. So, there's a reason that we've been in this business for a while, that
Hmm.
the transactions that we've done and the things that we've learned from those, that, hey, we are the professional. And I think there is a level of confidence and a level of way that you present that to them, to where it's not as an arrogant thing, but it's just like, hey, this is how the process works. Because I think a lot of people appreciate that,
Yeah.
because I know in my listing appointments and even my buyer's appointments, so many times people are impressed just with the information that we bring to the table. And that's just from, our team, but also just being in the business. There's a lot of knowledge that comes with that. And by the number of transactions that you do, that you're able to help them with that they didn't know.
Hmm. Well, I would say, I mean, there's a difference, and like you said, it's some agents are, on top of things, some agents not so much. But I think there's a huge difference between an agent who's been in the business 5 years and close 100 deals, or like 60 deals, or some kind of big number like that, versus an agent who's been in the business 5 years and closed maybe 5 deals. So,
There's a
like you
lot of
said,
those too.
there's a lot of those. Yeah, I think the numbers came out, and last year alone, I think 14% of agents closed eight or more. And so 50% of the agents last year, I don't even think closed one. So
Wow.
you're correct. It's a large portion of them. And so it is good to understand, okay, the person I'm talking with really knows the market because they've been in the market, they've been helping people purchase, sell, and they can really kind of guide me because they're literally working with buyers, they're working with
Hmm.
sellers, their team knows what buyers are looking for. So I think that's an added level of value that AI or the agent or the social media influencer can't
Right.
necessarily bring you that somebody actively in the market
Right.
could. And I will say, regardless of how valuable social media is, that's going to always weigh out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I have, with us being as agents, we are kind of, we operate our own business. We run it. We're on a team, so we have partnered with the team to really help grow our business. But how do you feel about the mainstream growth of entrepreneurship and being your own boss and really kind of that whole subsect of the economy and growth? I mean, we see it a lot on social media with the guys and the reels and stuff. Do you have any thoughts there?
Just like the content that people are putting
the
out,
the
or just
entrepreneur, the you can be your own boss. Like, do you like it? Do you hesitate?
no, I think it's a good thing, but I think what people see is they look at those people, they see this success story, and they want it, or they think it's going to be easy to attain.
Hmm.
Versus you got to work to get there.
Hmm.
And I think I mentioned this before with the compound effect book. It's just like, you know, things, if you do things repeatedly over a long period of time, you're going to look like an overnight success when people see that success from you, because it's like, okay, no, I've been working on this for years.
Correct.
Um, you look at the Kobe Bryant's, Michael Jordan's, these guys were extremely successful at their craft. And it's like, because they worked at it. They
Hmm.
didn't just get up one day, oh, it's just genetics and I'm a great basketball player and this comes easy to me. And no, they practiced and practiced when nobody else wanted to do it. They're spending hours and stuff doing it. So it's the same thing with when it comes to being your own boss, or running a business. It's, there's a lot of things you got to do to get there. And I personally couldn't see myself going back to like a normal nine to
Yeah.
five, because after doing this, because there is a lot of freedom that comes along with it, and when you're running your own business and things like that. But I think that it doesn't come easy. So you could close a transaction or two and then go spend the paycheck and just chill out and
What
do
happens
nothing. But then
next?
it's like, okay, well, I got to get something else.
Yeah.
So a lot of people from the outside looking in may look at real estate and say, okay, this is a great way to earn quick money. Um, but it's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that comes along with it, and that's why you see the agent that does only one deal or two deals a year, and it's like, okay, this is harder than I thought.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not just going to go out and make a quick buck or two.
Yep.
This is not 2022 again, and
Hmm.
so
People aren't just knocking down my door to buy a house.
right.
Yeah.
So now in the business is a time you really have to put in that work in order to be successful, because hey, it's not an easy market right now.
Hmm.
So I think when people see the easy market, they want to jump into it and say, "Oh, I'm going to get in here and make some money," and then those people are gone a year later.
Yeah. Well, I think that's my thought with this is, just like real estate, we're like we said, we are business owners, and the one of the first things they don't tell you in the real estate school when you're getting your license, but when you do get your license and you join a brokerage, one of the first things they tell you is, I think it's like 90% of realtors don't make it past 5 years. And so I think the number is almost as high for the first year, and so that is because there's a lot of them that go in and they're like, they see the high producing real estate agents
They see the
and
social
the
media,
social
the
media stars, the
influencer,
people
yeah.
who have already built that up. And you're correct. They're like, I want that. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't know what went into that, the years, the transactions, the staff that they have. And they aren't willing to put in that work, but they do want the lifestyle. And I think that's what the big blow up of the entrepreneur or the hustle culture or all of this is that you do see the person who was successful and was like they benefited from the entrepreneurship and they built their own business, but you don't see the sleepless nights, the drives, the 2 hour drives to knock on a door and not get an answer or get cussed out and have to leave. And so there is a lot that real estate agents or that anybody who builds a business, period, has to deal with
Yeah.
behind the scenes that a lot of people, once they enter the business and it becomes a reality, aren't ready for. And
Right.
so I would say that's the biggest thing. That's why when I see the Instagram reels or the different stuff on social media about it, I do kind of like, okay, well, you're not telling the whole story.
Hmm.
And I think part of the story sounds great, but like you said, the freedom and everything is awesome, but the freedom can also be an issue because freedom with lack of accountability can be very scary.
Yeah.
And when you get 6 months, a year down the line, and you've had no accountability and total freedom, you can end up in a really like tough position.
Yeah.
And so that would be something I would just always caution people is just always make sure you have that accountability
Yeah.
where there's freedom there. So kind of going into it, I know me and you are really big on sports. That's I'm ex football player. You're a coach, basketball, soccer,
I
football.
played
I
too.
mean, the whole
Come on
thing.
now.
Oh well, I don't want to. I don't know. That was so long ago. Uh, but what do you think about? Because right now we see a lot of uh, almost in basketball, we're seeing a shift away from it, I would say, but we still kind of see it, the super teams. What do you think about that? What do you think about getting a whole bunch of superstars together and kind of dominating the league, whether it's basketball, football, whoever that may be?
I don't think you see it much in football.
Okay.
You know,
Would you not say maybe like the Kansas City Chiefs or
I
even the
I would say
Eagles?
they built that team, and
Okay.
if you look at it, what you see with teams like Kansas City or a team like the Golden State Warriors is not a team that was built or a team that was brought in all these superstars.
Yeah.
They built with what they had, and then they made it successful. Like, you know, who did Kansas City bring in to make them better?
Yeah, I mean they brought in like your Devonte Adams after they were already successful, but you're correct. They built the
Yeah,
team with draft picks and stuff.
they
That's
built
true.
it from
Yeah,
the
trades
ground
and
up.
yeah.
And you look at Golden State; they stuck together for years, and so that's what I equate
Until
back to
KD came, I gotta throw that
that
in
one.
there.
Yeah, for sure. And that one was one of those deals that
Yeah. After
okay,
that, it was all bets were
they
off.
didn't need him
Yeah,
to
they did not.
win, so it was like, why?
Yeah,
So those are the things that, like, as an athlete and a coach, that frustrates me
kind of makes you cringe.
because
Yes.
what you saw, I mean, we'll go back to with the '90s, bro. That was the
Yeah.
era, and I'm
Okay.
Jordan fanatic, but what you saw then is there's no more rivalries, and what I see in the NBA, I don't see the rivalry. I don't see the loyalty and the commitment because you were with a
Okay.
team. You were proud to be with that team. You
Hmm.
were diehard that team. You didn't look for trades when things got rough. You stuck it out, and you played together as a team. And if
Fair enough.
we win as a team, we lose as a team. And hey, we got to come back next year and rebuild and get better.
Hmm.
So it's you got to put in the work to get better. Not okay. Well, let me see who I can go out and pick, what draft picks I can get, and
Who I
or
can link with
yeah,
and
let me
win
go
with.
over here
Yeah.
with this person. Because when you see all those people, it's almost ruined the game of basketball for me altogether, just because
Mm,
you see it transition down from the NBA down to college and even high school.
that's true.
The high school, even you see, back home, um, my nephew's playing for a team, football and basketball, and a lot of the kids have transferred year after year to go to different schools or follow a coach or this. Those things
Oh,
used to you
really?
couldn't do that. Yeah, so those things were like illegal back in the day, but now it's okay.
So they're jumping to different high
They're
schools so
going to
that they can
different high
play
schools.
with the coach that they want or the
Coach
team
or
to
hey,
stand
they've
out.
got a good team, so let's go play over there.
Mm,
And you'll see multiple kids from a school transfer out to go somewhere else. And there's, they can do that, and then they can transfer to another school after that if they didn't like it. And so you see that even at the high school level, kids
yeah.
just transferring school left and right, just to either go play for a certain coach or be on a winning team. And you lose the competitive nature of it. You lose the okay, I got to bust my butt to get uh, be successful or to win a championship,
Okay.
and I gotta. Coaches can't build programs anymore. I feel like because it's like you start building a program and then they want to go play
The
over
best
here,
player wants to leave to go play with this
right?
team's best player.
Or right,
So let me ask you this on the top level, and I can't argue for the high school level because I think honestly that's kind of crazy jumping schools.
yeah.
But on the top level, what would you say if playing devil's advocate, I was one of those star players and I was saying, well, nowadays I can't rely on my ownership to stand by me if I get injured and continue to keep my contract. So what I want to do is I want to maximize what I have right now, and that's why I'm going to go play within so that I could get a championship. What would you say to something like that?
Um, I'm not sure of the question there.
So if how would you respond? Because I know, like you said, the going to different teams has for you taken away from the game of basketball and the
Mm-hmm.
competitive nature, which I would agree with. I think the game of basketball right now is in an unfortunate state compared to what it was in the '90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah,
What
I
would
mean
you
the
say to a
rules have
player?
changed.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to see more offense, and I
Hmm.
think that's been part of the thing that's hurt it. The foul calls are not there anymore, um, so there's a lot more leeway that the players have to create offense, so they can get to the basket a lot easier because you know you can't touch the player,
Hmm.
or they're going to get a foul call.
Yep.
The outside game, and a lot of people blame Steph Curry for for,
I mean,
for changing
honestly,
the outside
rightfully
game.
so. Yeah.
Yes, but what he's able to do,
Yeah.
how he works to do that and to get open in order to get a shot off
It is
is
amazing.
ridiculous.
Yes. Yes.
Just watching him run circles and still to be able to do what he's got to do, that takes energy, that takes, and still to be able to knock it down.
Hmm.
But I think, everybody wants to be a 3-point shooter now. Whereas before it
That's
was,
correct.
and another thing you don't have any dominant centers in the game. Your centers are playing guard now.
Shooting threes.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a different talent in and of itself,
Hmm.
so they're able to shoot better. They're a lot slender. Like look at Wemby, he's a toothpick
Yeah,
essentially.
I know. And
Um,
he put on some weight in this off season.
right.
Yeah.
You look at KD, who
Yeah.
is, he's small, and I was thinking like when he came out of college, like okay, he's going to get in the NBA,
And
he's
he
going to beef
actually
up, and
hasn't beefed up. No,
but
not
he's
much.
a 7-foot guard,
Yeah.
and he can play any position on the floor, and that's things that the centers back in the day really couldn't play any position on the floor. So that part of the game has developed, but at the same
Hmm.
time, you don't have that dominant presence in the paint, offensively or defensively, um, like a Shaq, like
Yeah.
a
I was just thinking who would
Hakeem
match up to him, and
Olajuwon.
I wouldn't. Right now, I mean, the only I would say big man we have, like big man. I mean, we have big men, but like good would be Joker, and even he is not like he's a
Plays
dribble
outside.
up exactly. He's a dribble up the court, like a play like a guard
Hmm.
type of player. So yeah, I don't think we have any replication
You
of
don't
Shaq
really
right
have
now.
any kind of dominant
Yeah.
centers anymore. Um, so that in of
Do you
itself has
think
changed the
that
game.
dominant center could fit in today's game though?
Who's stopping Shaq in his prime?
Yeah. Well, no, that's true, but that's Shaq. I think
Who's stopping Olajuwon?
yeah, no, I know. And
Who's
honestly,
stopping David
I'm like
Robinson?
now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about Zion when he first came in, and if Zion could stay healthy
Yeah.
and his weight and everything, I think he was such a problem that a big man could potentially give. But I think right now they're so good at game planning around these people, and the game is so far outside with the 3 point and with just being able to spread.
But as a coach, I want both. So if you dominate inside, that opens your outside game. If you're dominating outside, that opens your inside game. Right now, everything's outside. So if you're shooting threes nonstop, there's really no inside presence. 5 guys playing outside. Nobody really is going
Yeah,
into the paint unless they're a slasher and get to the
and
basket.
just cut. Yeah.
And so you look at guys like what's his name? Oh my gosh, for OKC,
Shy SGA,
SGA, yeah.
yeah.
So you look at somebody like SGA, which people complain about that
Hmm.
he's a slasher, but
Yeah.
anytime you touch him, he's going to the ground.
Yep.
So he's getting to the free throw
He's
line.
gonna get that foul. Yeah.
Exactly. So you've got that side of the game where it's like, okay, all these fouls are being called because they want more offense. He's getting to the basket, but he's getting fouls called. Um, you don't have that mid-range game from anybody.
Which
Really,
I well they've complete. I mean, honestly, my favorite basketball player of all time is Carmelo Anthony, and I think
Well,
his biggest downfall was the decline of the mid range game because he was one of the best mid range shooters. And right now, you hear old veterans talk about the way they shoot the mid range and how the game has shifted. They've completely eliminated the mid range. There are NBA execs who don't even want them shooting that, and so that's why I ask if you think because you're literally dealing with they want to play the game outside or they want to play it inside, and usually it's outside. So that's
everything's
why
outside.
everything is outside.
And you, unless you're a slasher getting to the basket,
Hmm.
and you see like a John Morant, who can get to the basket
Yeah.
and finish. You see guys like that that's their game, and you have so much freedom and ability to do that now because you're going to get a foul called if you go to the basket. Whereas before, you go to the basket in some of these dominant center
They're gonna
eras,
put you down.
you're not going to make it,
Yeah, that's true.
and you've got to be a lot
And
stronger to
so that
finish.
definitely discredits you from wanting to take it to the basket,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like thinking twice, and
But you had to get more creative, and
yeah.
that's where you see the develop of the mid-range game, where
Hmm.
Jordan developed with the fadeaway, and then Kobe followed with the fadeaway, and that those guys were unstoppable because of their mid-range game and what
Yeah.
they could do with the ball in the post and shooting the fadeaway. That's hard, very hard to guard. So you see that part of the game missing. Guys can't really shoot fadeaways now, so they're
No.
either layups, dunks, or some floaters maybe, but a lot of threes.
Yeah.
So it's taken away a lot of the aspect of the game overall, I feel, just because you don't have a well-rounded game. So it's inside or outside. I was at a Magic game the other day, and I was just watching Paulo, and
He's pretty impressive, man. I do like
you
watching
would
him play.
think
Yeah.
he's got the build of a
Yeah.
guy that is just
Oh,
like should be dominant,
he's huge.
but
Yes.
he gets to the basket, gets in there, and then kicks it out. I was like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, finish.
That's tough.
So he's getting in there, but then he's kicking it out every
Hmm.
time. And instead of just going up with it or just getting to the basket and finishing, because it's like, dude, who's going to stop you? Like the size that he
He's
has,
huge. No,
right?
I just saw a picture of him standing next to somebody, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't
I mean,
realize.
talk about like a LeBron James
Yeah,
build.
he's
Got a
very
similar
impressive.
build,
Hmm.
but he's just not as dominant as people think that he
Well,
should have
I
been.
mean, from what I've seen, I don't watch the Magic too much, but he's more of a shooter, if I'm not mistaken. He doesn't really drive it too much, does he?
He backs it into the post
Yeah,
a lot of times,
okay.
and so he's getting into the post, but he's kicking it out.
Yeah.
And at least the game that
Yep,
I've seen,
that
and
you
I've
watch.
seen
Yeah.
several of them where it's
Yeah.
the same case that I think could be a dominant scorer, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the game. If you develop a mid-range game that you're getting to that basket and you're turning and shooting the fadeaway or something like that, that would elevate your game.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that stuff is missing from today's game in the sense that if you don't have a mid-range game, like you've either got to be a shooter or a slasher.
I would agree. I mean, honestly, I think from what I've heard, they are trying to get rid of the mid-range game in the NBA. And I think that is one of the biggest downfalls because, just like you said, it takes away from stretching the court, which is very unfortunate. I really enjoyed watching those old shooters shoot those kind of shots, and they were. I mean, they're not all going to be high percentage shots. A fadeaway is not a high percentage shot, and
Depends on who you are.
depends on who you are. But if we're looking at 100 different players, I think majority of them are going to miss the fadeaway, which is why it makes sense that they are not incentivizing people. But when you're good at it, it becomes such a
But
hard thing to defend.
you're not working, and I'm not saying these guys don't work, but it's like you're not working at that craft on what can I develop about my game to make my game
Okay.
better and
Okay.
take it to the next level, or am I just satisfied with what I'm doing?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So where you've got like a Kobe who will constantly work on different aspects of the game nonstop to where, hey, I can drive to the basket if I want. Hey, I
Yeah.
can shoot mid range if I want. Hey, I'm a great outside shooter if I want to shoot outside too. So you've got all layers of the game versus just, okay, I'm just a shooter. And I tell kids that I coach all the time, don't be a one-dimensional player.
Yeah.
So if you're just a one-dimensional player, you take that thing away from me that you're good
done.
at, you're done.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what other aspects of my game can I develop to become a complete player? And I think a lot of people are missing that aspect of the game. It's just like they're not complete players. They can just do one thing or the other.
I would agree. Yeah, it's we're either going to be a shooter like 3 point, or we're going to be a slasher, or that's going to be about it. Fair enough. Okay, so kind of switching, but not really switching gears. How do you feel about NIL, the name, image, and likeness? These kids getting paid for the money. Do you think it's a good thing for college? Do you think it's had a negative effect? What do you? Because I know that kind of out there when we hear about, like you brought up, the kids jumping different schools and high school, like you hear about college wise they're doing that because the money they get maybe. And I mean, we famously hear about the old Tennessee quarterback who was getting like $2 million to be the quarterback for Tennessee, decided he was going to hold out for try and get 4 million or something, and ended up with less than $1 million. Like, so he overplayed his hand. So you're seeing these kids kind of maybe screw themselves in the long run What do you think about that?
Well, number one, who's in these kids' ears? You talk
Okay.
about
Yep.
a kid that just came out of high school,
Yeah.
18, 19-year-old, and you look at college players, these are kids,
Yeah. a hundred
and,
percent.
and
Yeah.
it's like they don't necessarily know how to manage money or things
hmm
like that. So who's in their ear? Who's guiding them along? Just like a lot of the stuff we talk about with real estate. Who's that person that's going to be their guide
Yep.
throughout everything they're doing? So number one, finding a good agent, but also I think part of the problem that's happened with the NIL, I see pros and cons with it. I like the idea that the kid's going to get paid because if the school's making money off of this
They
kid,
should
they
rightfully.
should compensate them
Yes.
for that for
Yes.
sure. The transfer portal is a whole nother thing. So
Correct.
now getting into, okay, well, I'm going to put my hat out there and see who's going to give me more money. Well, I understand that just because, like, hey, this may be my only opportunity to make money if I get some career ending injury and I've never been paid for that. So it's
hmm
like, I was the big name at this school, hurt myself. I never made it pro. So
Now, and the
now
school
I've got nothing to
benefited
show.
off of me.
Right.
Yeah, I would
So
agree with that.
for that side, I 100% understand and back the athlete in that. But I think, again, it goes to there's no loyalty. You're losing the rivalries in sports. You're losing the camaraderie of the program and a dominating program, that you, as a coach, work to build. So a lot of this stuff I look at a coach's perspective is like, you look at college coaches and even, again, into high school now and pros, it's like you don't have a good season, your job's on the line.
Yeah.
Well, if all these kids are transferring out, I don't really have control over what they're being paid, or I don't know how much control the coaches have in that, but I'm trying to build a program. I'm
hmm
trying to recruit kids into this school to play for me, to make this program great. And then you see they're transferring here, they're transferring there. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you even build a program with that constantly? I mean, I go look back at Kentucky for basketball. Kentucky was a dominant basketball school, and it's like usually it's like you're going to Kentucky, you're one and done. So
Yeah.
you're going there for a year, and then
And you're
you're
out of there.
gone. So I'm
Yeah,
just like,
because you're gonna.
and how do you build that program?
Yeah.
Just knowing ahead of time that these kids are,
You only got them for 1 year.
and
You
they're
got to
going to
keep
the
them, then they're
NBA,
out.
and
Yeah.
that's fine. They're going to the NBA, but now it's okay. They're going to this school. Now they're going to this school. Now they're that school.
Yeah.
So
I would say it's different, like you said. If you built a system that you know is successful and you're graduating them to another level, that's one
mm-hmm.
thing. But if they're sitting with you for a year and then transferring here and then jumping here, and it's not, I don't like, I don't see that being good for the kid
Right, because as a coach, my job is to get that kid to that next level.
to develop him
Right.
exactly.
So if I get that in 1 year and they're moving on to pros or whatever, I've done my
I
job.
did what I had to do.
Right. So the same thing for, I always equate it to like a JV coach. Your job as a JV coach is to get these kids ready to play varsity. And
Yep.
if you're not getting these kids ready to play varsity and you're just concerned about what you want to do, then by the time as a varsity coach I get them, I've got to retrain them again.
Correct.
So, same thing in college. If I get this kid for a year, now I've got to train somebody else in that position. Or if they're transferring, how does that kid, how does that develop them into a better player if they're this school this year, this school that year, and then somewhere else the next year? It's just like
Exactly.
you've never developed into a program. So
I mean,
I don't know how pro coaches are looking at that and saying, okay,
well, I would say, I mean, I think what we saw this year, specifically in college football, with who won the championship, because literally it was Miami who I mean, I'm a Miami fan, but you have a quarterback who is like, I mean, like Carson Beck, that's like the face of the NIL. Like he driving around a nice car, he's got a nice NIL deal, transferred to Miami to get a nice NIL
mm-hmm,
deal. Like, and then you have Indiana with their coach and their quarterback, and kind of, no,
develop the
I don't think they
program.
have any 5-star recruits. They didn't. It was a very low key program, but it was about, this is the program and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna win. And they were very in your face about it. And I do think them winning the national championship kind of maybe sets a precedent now that you don't just have to have the best player on the field. You
It's
have the
the
best
program.
system,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Have the best program to win and create winners. So I think that's a benefit. But I also, you kind of think both, because you're like, well, the kids should get compensated, and if their name is pulling in millions of
Yeah.
dollars, they should kind of be a millionaire.
Sure. And so again, that's why there's pros and cons. I mean, there's
Yeah.
good things and bad things
I've
that come
heard
along
some
with it.
people say limit the amount of transfers that somebody can
Hmm.
do. If they get injured, you get one, but you don't get two or you don't get three. So
Yeah,
we all make one bad decision,
I
but
think the kid getting paid, sure, but I think more structure around the transfers and transfer
yeah,
portal. Um, I think that should be something that is looked at, just because it's just right now. It's just like, okay, whoever wants to go is going, and then
yeah,
as a coach, you don't know from one year to the next who you're going to have.
exactly.
So I think again, it's hard to develop a program that you're dealing with that. So
Mm.
it's just like, okay, maybe I'll have this kid next year, maybe not. But the programs that have the kids that are there consistently, I think then you can work with it, you
You
can
can really
develop it.
build something up.
Hmm.
Okay.
And I think
Um,
that's part of what you're missing with that, is the idea of a program. I think a lot of people are getting
mhm.
away from that to where it's just like it's more about the
The star
individual,
player. Yeah.
right? So it's more about me and what I'm bringing to the table, or what can I get out of this, and that's just our culture and mentality is
Yep.
like, what's in this for me,
Yep.
versus, and you see again the NBA hopping from this team to that, or building a super team. What's in it for me? I think it's become less about winning championships and more about individual
Building your
accolades.
brand and
Hmm.
making sure you got the highlight reel on social
Because
media or something.
as
Yeah.
an athlete, your goal used to be, I want to win a
I want
championship.
to be the best in the world.
I
Yeah.
want to be the best. I want to win a championship.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here to do. And not doing that frustrates you. And then you're just like, okay, I'm going to work harder. I got
Mhm.
to win a championship. I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about, okay, how much more money do I want to get? Okay, what team do I want to go to because this is just not working, or I want to go play with this person or that person to maybe then win a championship. But those, to me, those championships are like tainted.
I would agree, and I think we see that with a Kevin Durant. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
literally, and this is not NIL, but this is like literally, you went to going back to the super team. You went to a team that didn't need you.
Mm-hmm.
You joined on, and you did win the chip, but like I feel like there's a little asterisk there, and anybody, even during his tenure there
Yeah.
at Golden State, there were some feelings that he wasn't necessarily needed,
Mm-hmm.
or and so the respect level of those championships, I don't feel it's
That's
ever
like
going
the
to be the
Disney
same.
championship for me. It's not. There's an asterisk.
Well, I'm
He
not going to
deserves it.
comment on that. I'll let you have your rant on LeBron.
I
Okay,
might
so
we need
yeah,
more
speaking
time
of
for
LeBron,
that.
how do you feel about? Let's just go into it. How do you
Oh
feel about
gosh.
load management, sir? Do you think load management with I'm going to stick to basketball because we see
How
in
many
the
games did Jordan
NBA.
sit out?
Well, okay, yeah, fair enough. I get it. Jordan also didn't play as long as LeBron did. So I
It's
mean,
debatable.
LeBron is past year 20. Jordan had
Jordan went to
years in the middle
college.
off. He did okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, do you think now load management is like a
I think
scam or something? Or
I do. I mean, I think if you had load management in the 80s, 90s, some of those guys would have probably lasted longer too. But what did they do with the